Michael DiLeonardo, also known as Mikey Scars. The government says he's a high-ranking member of the Gambino crime family.
No Excuses with Michael DiLeonardo. I'm your host, RJ Roger. Michael, how are you?
I tell you what, that never gets old, that intro. You did a hell of a job, really. It's iconic. I'm doing great. Yeah, it brings a smile to my face. It does. You did a hell of a job.
Thank you. Thank you.
How's everybody out there today? Hope everybody's well. You got a lot of loyal supporters out here today. Came in early.
Yeah, sorry guys for the last minute. There's a lot of questions and things coming in from the teaser we put out yesterday, so we just decided while we were just talking about it, we'll just go live tomorrow. I'll do a little quick discussion on it with everybody, since our Patreon people actually saw the full discussion. It's just we just cut a little section. That's like that discussion you guys just saw yesterday. It's like over a month old. So we just cut a little piece and put it out on YouTube. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting enough, some of the feedback is like they didn't understand the robust, healthy debate that gets set up with your questions. Please explain that wasn't one of our questions, right? That was from the chat.
Yeah, that was just a live chat question that came in.
Yeah, and we just jumped on that and made it a long conversation. Instead of having a curt answer, a yes or no, or a couple of sentences, RJ found a way to push me on this. And it's something that we always talked about in the past, because it is an ongoing subject, everything about Paul. And it's very interesting because his mindset, as opposed to other people's mindsets, was so different at different times of his tenure as boss. He changed. Excuse me. And what people don't understand on here at times is this is just a snippet, and snippets, like RJ said, you have to see the whole show. But snippets could be deceiving at times as motive and what's going on. So with this, RJ knows my position on this for a while. So the pro and con of something, he'll push me on an issue just to start a robust conversation. So it's not his feelings that was being said. It's the subject matter that he turns into pushing me to get more out. And you can see how impassioned I was. So I thought it was really, really good. And RJ has a penchant for pushing me. Me not even knowing it at the time. So he does a great job with this. That's great content and great info coming out. Because when you have to start and think, that's why I don't like to know questions ahead of time. That's why we don't prep for a lot of shows. Probably more than 9 out of 10. We don't prep for a show. We just do it. Because the natural information that flows out has to do with him. And without him asking the right questions or pushing the buttons, it would never come out. So when the things come out, when you're not in agreement, like-minded things are boring. We can sit here and be like-minded. So he knows the opposite with to tell me to get me going. Because there's things over here he don't understand. He don't know what's in my head. A lot of times you say, I never knew that. So you got to give a lot of credit to RJ here for pushing the right buttons with me all the time. Come to Patreon if you're not there. Watch the whole show. You'll see what I mean. So, look, another thing over here I just want to try to get out is the content makers on here are researchers. And let me see if I can give something analogous as to what I'm trying to say. When George Washington was part of the Revolution, books and historians and scribes reduce it to writing what they think they seen or how history unfolded. There was none of us there to say, I was there. It didn't happen that way. So we go by books and whatever was in writings in any form. There was no recordings. So we're based this upon research. If I wanted to study about Einstein, I didn't live with Einstein. I have to read books about it. That's what RJ does. He's a deep researcher, like the guys from Mob Archaeologists and other people on here. They do a great job researching. And RJ knows that. And he knows that I know the street because I was in there at this time capsule. I was there. So when he pushes me, he's getting the time capsule info that I have there when I was in the street, whether it be a factual event on my part that I know firsthand right there, or an opinion, or just trying to analyze what was going on at the time from the circumstances, things that I know. So a lot of credit has to go to RJ on this, and I hope everybody understands that. I made a flippant comment about being books, reading books. And that was my reference. It came off the wrong way, that it was almost like I was sliding him. It's not the case. It's that these things are in books. I was there. But as he's pushing me through, he's going by what he read and what the conversations. He knows me now for almost 4 years. So he knows what buttons to push. So it was great. I know a lot of people that watched it really appreciated it. There's just a little difference on how they interpreted some stuff. RJ did a great job. Everybody should appreciate what he did because nobody really could do that to me. Of course, here, not get me riled up. That's easy. I get riled up right away. But right here, intellectually, he knows where to go. So I applaud you, RJ. Thank you.
The funny thing is, I seldom share my actual opinions as to what I really think. Now, we have talked before about what my position is, and I write about it in my book, The Cooking Pot versus the Maid, or Lineage guys, we'll call them.
Right.
My actual opinion on the situation is largely these new guys that were coming out of no lineage. They were more street guys that got on record with guys. I don't think that was the right angle to go. I think that's what hurt things really bad as far as what started to curve the mob. So I'm more for if it's stuck as lineage, guys that come from the same line of teaching, it probably would have preserved it a little better.
Yeah, the teaching.
So it wasn't so much about. But again, I like discussions. I think when you can challenge perspectives, you come up with new ideas. So, yeah.
No, and it's true. Look, the lack thereof of teaching in any aspect. You can't be a plumber. Give a guy a bag of tools and say, "Go be a plumber." You got to teach him. There's certain little tricks to plumbing. You put the plumbing thread on when you put a pipe together, using the right cleaner. When there's all kinds of things to do when you're a plumber, you just don't put pipes together. So the nuances of this, of being in that life, the teachers weren't teaching anymore because a lot of money weren't even around, and there was a lot of guys that really didn't care. And i.e. Gravano, he'll talk about what Tado told him, right? He'll remember some stories. He heard them, but he didn't listen. There's a difference between hearing somebody and listening to somebody. He had the lessons. He just didn't care from a seasoned guy in that life. That's why Tado died in his bed and was very active throughout his whole career in the street and became very, very rich in doing so and staying out of prison. That's old school. And the guy was capable. He did work. So his teachings passed down to Gravano. He taught Louis Molito. Louis Molito was good. And others in that crew. Sammy don't talk about any other wise guys in that crew, does he? You know why? Because he's the smartest guy in the room all the time. That's your demise. When somebody thinks they're smarter and can't listen anymore, you're ruined. So he still goes through that today. So going back to that, the old teachers aren't there anymore. And the guys that still had them, they didn't take advantage of it. Not everybody. I'm not saying there's a lot of guys out there that learned my age, maybe a little younger right now. So the lineage guys had fathers, uncles, brothers, and cousins, all that were in that life that were passed down. Those are the guys that are a little more cerebral, in my opinion.
I got nervous. I never seen Mikey like that.
What do you mean in the last video?
I think he means the last video.
And RJ can tell you, I'm a passionate guy. You guys see me play football.
I think it looks more, if you're with us on Patreon, they know us more. I think on YouTube, to them, it's like, but people who appreciate good conversations and different perspectives will appreciate the conversation.
Right.
But playing it back, you start to catch things because we were just talking on the fly. So watching it back, I'm sure more has to come to you about something you would have expounded on more or shared, or you think now that you rewatched it, maybe more ideas came to you.
Yeah, that's always the case, because in the moment, you try to think of it, you try not to leave everything out. But when you're giving, it's like going, like these people that take the podium, they got all these notes in front of them, right? And they got to keep reading and keep reading. All these politicians, don't you really know what you want to say? You need notes that somebody else wrote for you. It's not coming from your heart or your head. Those are bullet point notes that you think you have to remember. For myself, I don't want any notes. I want it to flow. I don't want to stop and think, oh, yeah, I got to say this. Oh, I stop and think. Yes, when you're prepping for a show, if you know the subject, you write a book. I don't want to forget this. This is very important. Let me just put this down. You can do that. I get it. But to go through your whole sequence of your brain, what you're going to talk about, if you don't know it's not up here, you're no good. What good is this act? Then it becomes an act. So Kevin Miley, what I like about RJ approach is that he doesn't think that he was there like some other content creators. You're right. RJ don't put himself in the street. That's what made that show. 100%. That's what made that clip. He's not saying, Michael, I know I came out of the street. He's leaving that to me to say for you people to try to understand. And the people that lived in Brooklyn or in the street at that time could understand greater than somebody that's from out of the country didn't get our culture at that time. So it was a great show. And, at RJ's expense at one point there. So because it looked like we were arguing, or he thought he knew better than me. That's not the case. We got a lot of people. My thing's not running again. How's that? Why isn't it going again? What the hell's that? New computer too. Hey, Mike Caruso's here. Hey guys, we're gonna do something on Patreon with about 7 or 8 guys from Bath Beach, Brooklyn. And we're gonna do a pre-record. Whoever wants to sign up, Michael Caruso already committed to doing it. And we're gonna do Bensonhurst talk, Bath Beach Bensonhurst talk. The smell, the feel of the neighborhood at that time, growing up in the 60s and 70s and 80s in our neighborhood. And I think it'll be a great show. And we have a lot of people that volunteered. So we're going to do a pre-record there. We got to everybody. So everybody on YouTube that's not on Patreon, maybe you should jump over and take a look at all our stuff.
Your son said we switched up the formula. You know what's funny, though? If we had one of those, like, yes, Michael, you're right. Yes, that's very true. Wow. Michael, you're so smart. You're the smartest man in the world.
You're awesome.
Oh, you're so awesome, Michael. Wow. Michael, there's no one as smart as you. I couldn't agree more.
They would hate you. You wouldn't last 30 seconds after.
I told you a long time ago that if you don't understand it, you're probably not for the show. I'm sorry to say it, but I'm not going to be politically correct. This show, in my opinion, is for the smart people. We have a different way we do our show. If you like I cut his head off, I chopped off his feet, I chopped off his body, I shot him in the head, I hate everybody, I'm angry every day, you're probably not really going to enjoy what we do on this show. Our show was to provoke thought, to make you think. That's the goal of this show, to make you think about something that maybe you didn't think about the day before. That's it.
Right.
So
No, that's 100%. Provocative thought, right? It could be provocative at times, but that's what works. And yeah, again, the people that are not on Patreon, come over there and you'll see the rest of our videos. Thank you,
Michael, but I did think about one of the things I thought about is Angelo was really going on tape before he was picked up. He called him a pansy and a milk drinker, two prominent statements. I have them both published in my book that were on the tapes before he ever got busted on drugs. He called him a milk drinker, which is like we know what that. So talking about Paul, he was belly aching before he was busted.
Oh yeah. Well, that look, nobody's going to be happy with the king. Not everybody's going to be happy with the king. You know, the closest, the proximity to the boss. Don't forget, in that family, most of that family came out of Lower Manhattan, right, and Brooklyn when they migrated from Manhattan into Brooklyn. So they were very, very clannish, as is most of the people that migrated from Italy or Sicily at the time. That's why there's a divide between Nappies, Calabres, and the Sicilians. There was always that dynamic. So when you have that kind of thing, they cliques. And whoever has the power is the boss. And whoever's the boss, that clique usually gets the go-aheads on to do things more than others. That's why when Carl was the boss and other guys were the boss, other guys dealt drugs at a grand level, not street level, and got away with it. Now, those guys enriched themselves. Carl was rich in World War II. He started building his wealth as soon as he got to this country. And he wasn't the boss at the time. Vaglo was the boss in the 20s, along with Castellanos, Inzerillos, the Scaliches. You could keep going with it. I could name 40 names right now on that group of guys. But it was a clique because they were all Sicilian. So now later on, the dynamic starts to shift when there's more nappies in there, and the power grab is, let's say, since you mentioned Angelo, what happens in Queens? There's a guy named John Gotti and the Faticos and Tony Lee and Fat Andy, and you could keep going with name after name. And that group, there's a very, very, and who do they go under? Neil. That's their group. That's who they're closest to. So you're always going to get these dynamics that people are not happy with the boss. So Angelo espousing all this hate for Paul is understandable. They don't have full control. They think their guy should be boss. Neil had a different understanding about being boss, as we could tell throughout time. If he wanted to be boss, he would have killed Paul. Permission or no permission, that would have happened before, right? When the transition happened, when Carl passes. It didn't happen. He fell in line because he knows the life. So
is it what price glory though?
Yeah.
Is it more at what price glory? Because you can want to be boss, feel like you deserve to be boss, feel like you should have been picked as boss, and no, I can mount the charge and take the family. But do you say, you know what the ramifications for going for it is not worth what's going to. So do you say, I'll sit here as underboss, even though I do want to be boss? I'm just not going to upset the whole family, upset the whole apple cart to go for it.
1,000%. Don't forget, not you. I'm just talking to the world here, because you know this, and a lot of people that know it. There was a shot that usurped Paul. Carlo. Tommy Rava, like this with Neil and others, that whole Queens faction that I'm just telling you about, killed Johnny Roberts on the sneak, a captain that was very, very popular, close to Carl. So there was a time that they were trying to usurp the boss.
And you remember, see, the other thing that really 90% of people that give Neil the credit of Neil knew the rules, and Neil, because the famous tape, Cosa Nostra means that the boss is your boss. You understand? That's why I said before, you guys don't understand Cosa Nostra. Cosa Nostra means that the boss is your boss. Boom, tape ends. You and I played the whole tape. We got a show on Patreon where we discuss the full tape.
Right.
If you guys listen to the tape, just 10 seconds after he says the boss is the boss, everyone goes, wow, Neil, what a guy that really just knew the rules and respected. That's the boss, and you don't go against your boss. Keep listening, because it sounds like they were saying maybe we should go after this guy. Would you agree to that, Michael?
Yeah. Is there possible to pull it up? Play it?
And that's what, if the only person I know is the guy, Paul, if you're watching the show, if you can maybe text me the link so I can play it. I can't really find it while I'm on the show. But if you guys play the extended tape, it will change your opinion on what it's just strategically cut. No different than the video I put out yesterday. If you take the bait, then you were baited, okay? You were click baited. You bit the hook. You fell into what the objective was for the person who's behind the board. When you took it. The goal is not to take it. So people strategically cut things and do things for a position. But Neil and Gotti, they talked further. And it doesn't sound like Neil was against Gotti moving on Paul if you play the extended version of the tape. So, and I would also add, Michael, if you look at the two, largely, I think, do you think Neil, you made a good point when you say, there's factions, which I agree. There's always factions, but then there's a tipping point. That's what causes civil wars, when the family is split. The famous Banana Wars and the Colombo family. I mean, the Bonanno family, the Colombo family wars. When there's a split family war, that's when the family goes into civil war. There's always going to be a certain couple crews or things that don't like, but you can't have a tipping point where there's too many people that are against you. Do you believe what's out there that before John moved on Paul, they did talk to Joe and Gallo? They went to the top captains in other families. They went to Gaspipe. They went to the Lucchese's. They went to the Colombos. They went to the Bonanos. They went to their top captains in their family. They had Frankie DeChico on board. They had the people who really mattered. The only people who they didn't really go to in their family, I think, was it Jimmy Brown and a couple people? But that would mean there was a tipping point, that there was major dissatisfaction, not just from Angelo getting busted on drugs, but other people dissatisfied with something, because they didn't just willy-nilly John, Sammy, DeChico go out, kill Paul, take over. They had the people in the family that kind of mattered on their side, and they went to they had a unified agreement with everybody but the West Side. And I think they actually went to some people in the West Side. They just didn't want to go to Chin. Do you believe that information that's out there, or do you question it?
No. What I question is the part about going to see guys in other families. And we did a whole show. Matter of fact, we did a couple of segments on that, about them vetting out Gaspipe, and Gaspipe's got no vote. He's had no vote on the commission. Dux was the worst.
But power, I think it was more like the people. Gaspipe had the influence in that family, I think, is what they were saying. Thinking Gas had the influence.
No, they ain't gonna influence Tony Dux to say after they killed Paul. Hey, Tony, by the way, Frank Chico came to tell me, and I told him, yeah, go kill Paul. Dux will look at him like he's nuts. Look how close Dux was with Paul, right? He went against to try to kill our guy, kill John and everybody else in the family that was involved. So Dux didn't go along with it, and he never would have went along with it. So no matter how powerful Gaspipe was as a soldier or a captain, he's not making that call. Now, did Gas go back and go to Frankie DeChico and say, hey, by the way, I met with Chin and Dux. They're going to fucking kill you for killing Paul. Uh-oh. Yeah, but Gas, you told me that it was okay. No, I'm not going with that. I'm not going with that. But the other part that you said about getting certain captains in the family, especially the Sicilian crew, which was that First Avenue, the Roberts crew, Charlie Dangara's old crew, Mr. Lilo's crew, and all those crews in that area, Joe Gallo, Piney, we could keep naming names, but those guys were the nucleus. And we forget all the time that there was another part of that, Frank Licasio, the Bronx crew. John was close to him. Frankie knew about it ahead of time because Vinny Artuso wasn't even a main guy at the time, was on the pole hit. So yes, they did their due diligence within the family where people would not be crying at Paul's wake and Tommy's wake. That is for sure. They kept that as the fist, as John would call it, right? Even though fist is 5 people, but that's the term for a cabal of usurpers, let's say. Which I definitely agree with you on that. The tipping point is right. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's not has nothing to do with that family. What happened with Joe Messina? Didn't he kill 3 captains because of a threat? He surgically removed, in his mind, but he poisoned other people in that family, Rusty et al., to believe that these guys were going to be a threat and take over the family. He killed them. He got them to come in and kill 3 guys because he thought they were a threat. Was that the tipping point, right? No, not when they get killed. That's the cure. That was the cure. Kill 3 captains at one shot. Everybody's going to put 2 feet, 1 shoe, no? So right before that, they viewed them as a threat for something, a power move. So they eliminated it. Were they? We'll never know. We'll never know what those guys' real intentions were. There are guys that out there that are still alive that do know that answer if they were going to try to take the Banana family over. Who dies then? Lilo dies before Galante, right? 71, I think. So every time there was a perceived threat from somebody, Sonny Black, Caesar, the guys that perceive threat that have leadership skills or power base that could come up in the future, they take the seeds out of the ground. They don't wait for it to grow into a plant, right? So this is what happened to the Colombo family. What John do? Persico was in jail for life, right? He still had a strong, loyal base out in the street. John said, don't worry about it. Tell Vic, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Pushed them into a war. Tipping point. John pushed that war. If John don't push him, there is no war. Vic stays the way he was, a good guy in there, happy with his position, going out, dating girls and drinking and making a lot of money and having his sons involved in the life and had a great life until he was pushed. Tipping point. And we could go through different moments in history. Going back to Angelo now, yes, those blue collar guys, just call them, I don't like the term white collar, blue collar, because everybody's blue collar when they need to be. If you make money, that makes you, and have a great business, that makes you a white collar guy? No, it does not. Sammy had a big business, didn't he? He was a mass murderer, a serial killer. He's worth millions, Sammy. So you have plenty of guys that are rich, that have businesses, that are killers. That's blue collar, white collar. But those are the guys that didn't have the means or didn't care to have the means to open up big businesses. And now, so they bellyache from the street. They were the guys that were really in the street, gamblers, guys going out. That's what the mob is at that time. Street people. It's not business. Not everybody's got a business degree from Wharton School. So go ahead.
This is a good comment now, because I believe Jerry Lang was one of the people that is said to believe that John and Sammy and then that's one of the guys they went to in the Colombo family. Now, the position isn't that there was a commission vote on Paul, but there was the important people in 3 of the other 5 families that were made contact with. So I guess my question would be, again, I take away the West Side, take Chin out of it. And the guys, kind of like Joe and Gallo, he said, I'll go wherever you guys go. Do you believe, I guess my first question, do you believe that Joe and Gallo knew in advance?
100%.
Which is his administration consigliere, right? He was at the time?
Yeah.
That's a big look the other way, because Joe and Gallo should have went to Paul or ran to the commission immediately and said, hey, they're trying to make a move on the boss. But he didn't. Do you think
self-preservation?
And he probably knew, or was Joe and Gallo thinking, we don't got the muscle in the family to fight this off because John got it? Did Joe and Gallo know what you broke down before? Who's going to kill me? Me? John has everybody.
Right. 100%. He would have went. If he goes in with a beef, how many guys are they going to kill? How many guys? You can't kill all those guys. There's dozens. Out Queens. So that's what you were talking about. Tipping point as, what did you say before? At what price glory? Joe took a neutral position. Again, his job was to bring it in. But self-preservation, I think, kicked in at that point.
So the theory on Jerry Lang and the other people, and the other families, do you think John would move on his boss without going to some of the other families and talking to some important men?
Yeah. Look, you're taking a hell of a chance. With the way Gravano explained this, it was supposed to be a dead tight secret, right? With the fist. Really tight. They're going to go out and tell guys in other families, hey, we're going to kill the boss. What do you think? I just don't believe it. Now, going back to Jerry Lang, Angelo did speak with Jerry about a lot of things. I guess I don't know what their business was together, but he did. There's tapes, right? There's tapes on it. I think in Casa Storta, the restaurant. But did Jerry Lang step up front for them when all this went on? Say, hold it up. I gave him permission. I told him to go ahead. Where was he? Where was Jerry Lang going to Chin or going to?
But he can't say that because he put his own self.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So going to talk to Jerry Lang was only a risk. If he's not going to step up and say, "Wait a minute, I gave them permission," then what good is it? The only thing you do is exposing yourself. That's why I have a lot of questions about him going. Why would they go to gas? He might not even been a captain at the time. He might have been just a soldier.
Yeah, to me, that's a good point because, boy, the more people who know something, 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead. The more people who know something, you're going to move on probably the top boss in America at the time,
right.
With Sicilian roots. I would probably say he was at that time. Do you think Paul was, if I know it's not a real thing, but let's say in the sake of like chairman of the board, like the senior guy on the commission, was Paul probably even over that of Chin at the time?
Yeah, 100%.
I would think so too.
It was a different show. No. Paul was accused by some of the people in the family who's selling out the family to the West Side, which was Chin at the time, right? And he was accused of doing that as being a little weak. That's the way it was viewed. Because with the unions, Local 23, splitting it down the middle, it's a little technical, but they had 59, Local 104, the West Side had those unions plus other unions. And Local 23, which was Louis Giardina, we had the whole World Trade Center and a lot of Manhattan, our territory, for jobs. And Paul made a deal and struck, I think it was half the World Trade Center, and gave it to the West Side. There was some kind of deals made there. Even with the feasts were thrown in there. So people viewed that as we got sold out by Paul. That was another thing that's left out of the argument of Paul had to go. So, with this thing about them having permission or getting the okay to do it, if that was right, think about this. Remember they went according to Gravano, because there was nobody else in there that talked about this, the commission meeting with the Ducks with Gaspipe was there and Chin. They went to that meeting, and let's be clear, in that book, whomever wrote that book.
Which one are you talking about? Philip Carlo's book?
Yes, yeah, Philip Carlo. Yes,
Yeah.
His book with Gas about that meeting and Sammy's memory of the meeting. We already broke that down. It's like the meeting didn't even exist, or there was 2 meetings, right? Because we found the contradictions in there big time. And it's factual. It's not even like an opinion. We found the discrepancies. So if that was the case, why isn't John going that? Why is John saying, I don't know, Paul. Why do you say, yeah, we killed him? Yeah, we did it. We got permission from the Colombos. We got permission from their guys. Yes. Didn't you say, oh, go ahead, kill this guy? Didn't you give us permission?
And that's the one part.
What is Chin going to do that? If John and Sammy or whoever else was in that room, if he goes like this, hey, guess, why don't you tell him what you told Frankie the Chico?
You can't do that.
Why not?
But here's the part that
then he goes to the Colombo. Then he'll say, Jerry Lang, we got permission from Jerry Lang. He gave us the green light on it. We left you out. Yeah, we left you out. That's it. What do you want to do about it? That's
I guess you could.
Without being disrespectful, that I would say, look, they gave us permission. The Colombos gave us permission. And I'll vote. That was enough. Did we go around you? Yes. We know you're too close. That's the truth, Vincent. He had to go. The guy was going to flip. Make your case right there.
Good point. Great point. No, you're right.
Do you really think what Chin supposedly say? One day we're going to find out who did this with Paul. Somebody's going to have to pay that bill in so many terms, so many words, right? Gravano's words. So what is he going to do at that point? They already know.
He threatened John. He threatened them.
Yeah. Why did Gas line up with them? At this point, they already know, right? That it was John. Because Gas would tell them, yeah, hey, Tony, yeah, he told me. They came to me, told me going to bang him out. He's not going to say that. If he did, Gas is in the box. How's he going to tell Ducks, yeah, I gave him the okay? You're a soldier. Come on. The whole narrative stinks. Like I said, I could break it all down. The psychology of what could have went into this. Because it don't make sense. They went and polled everybody before time. And it was supposed, yeah, we're going to kill the boss of the commission. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And you send an Angelo to go give the messages. No. And again, no knock on Angelo. Angelo was man's man in that life. He was major drug dealer, but what I'm talking about in that life. He was very loyal to John, very loyal to everything they did there, just disloyal to certain rules that were hypocritical. Again, we could get into this whole thing. But he was a loyal guy to John and was on the spot because of an infraction. So why are you going to go out and expose yourself to all these other guys and other families when we know the treachery in this life? Now, look, what did Joe Colombo do when they approached him to do the murders? He went right to call. He was with another family. He was with the Colombos.
This is when Magliocco was boss you're talking about.
Yeah, that whole incident when they were going to bang him out.
Yeah.
Joe Colombo turned the whole plot. He became boss from soldier to boss.
Good point. Good point.
So, like I said, we keep thinking here, there's so much information out there from the past that says this don't make sense.
Yeah.
Now,
Wow.
another little
That's
point
great.
that I want to throw out. There's this thing about Chin being a hypocrite because he tried to kill Costello without permission, right? Without commission approval. We don't know if they didn't do exactly what Sammy said. They didn't go to different bosses and say, yeah, screw this guy, bang him out. Frank Costello, right? We don't know that. But the misnomer here is Chin was not the boss. He wasn't decided.
He was nobody at that point.
Yeah, he was a soldier, a very loyal soldier.
To Chin.
Not in order.
I mean,
Vito.
Vito.
So he's not a hypocrite. He was a soldier given an order. So let's take that equation that he tried to kill a boss without permission and all that. He's just a soldier. So you can't blame him. So hopefully that clears that up.
Yeah, that he was just a guy underneath Vito who Vito loved, and he took the order and did what he had to do. But man, that is a good point though. But the only consistencies between the two, Gaspipe's claims and Sammy's claims, is Gaspipe says, John said it's everybody in the meeting when they open up. We don't know who killed, and I'm paraphrasing, but we
Yeah.
don't know who killed Paul. We're doing the investigations and looking into it. And he said, like, everybody in the room was looking around like, motherfucker, we know you killed Paul. Excuse
Yeah.
my language. We know you killed Paul. But he said, and Sammy kind of had the same perspective in a different way, that everybody in the room knew John killed Paul. And
That's what I'm
Chin
saying.
at the end says, someone's going to have to answer for who killed Paul. To me, that's a direct threat from Chin to John.
100%. And again, we have to go by what Gravano remembers or changes stories. We don't know. We weren't there. So I'm saying there's so many things that we don't know. But what if John presents the case at that time?
That's a good point. You really make me think there. Because, boy, you're right about that. And everything you're right. And it avoids a lot of, don't come after my men. Don't go after the Chico. Don't go after Lino. Don't go after Bobby Borgello. We went to the families. That's a great point. That's a great point.
I'm going to give you something about John, right? And his son says this, and everybody with the John Gotti law. I'm going to make you say it. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. If somebody lies, what are they?
Oh, scared.
Coward. Scared.
Yeah.
If you're a real man, you don't lie. You own it. You say it. He's in that room with those guys. He had the opportunity to say, he lied. So was John scared? Is John a coward? They all knew it, according to the words that we know, right? That says somebody's going to pay that bill one day. I didn't do it. We don't know. They will launch an investigation. How blatantly stupid could that be? Well, I'll give you a confirmation on that. Ready? The Chico gets killed 4 months later. When was this commission meeting? It was after Frankie was dead. Otherwise, you would have been at the meeting. You're not going to say right back, yeah, we're investigating Frankie, our underboss. Whoever killed him is going to pay that bill. You don't think John would have said that? RJ, that would have been my answer. Yeah, you're right. We don't know who killed Frankie, but someone's going to pay that bill too. If they want to play that game. Who gets killed next? Eddie Lino. Who gets killed after that? Now John's already in jail with Sammy and Frankie Lowe and Tommy Gambino, right? Bobby Borgello. Within 5 years. So if you think about all the events, I don't know what the reprobate out in Arizona is saying is true or not. I'm going to create my own scenario based off of that with other stuff about protocols and stuff. It's my opinion, and everybody could critique me or agree with me on this, or have their own opinion. But this is what this is about.
No, that might be, Michael, this is what I'm trying to say in the beginning of the show. Like, this is what I love to get you to that there. I just asked you one question. Look at this surgical breakdown you just did. Off the top of your head, no preparation. And this is what I hope people, listeners, really can take from this show. Because, man, you really gave me something to think about there as far as it wouldn't make a lot of, I can't see how smart it would be to go to other families. That's a major risk. You're risking all you guys being killed immediately, everybody. Typically when you're going to go on a do something like that, you wouldn't want many people to know. Just your most trusted people. Go to another family. And on a guy like Paul, that goes back to the Manganos, his father was made in the Manganos. His father was one of the top numbers runner for the Manganos. Paul goes back to Sicily, all the Sicilian relationships. There's a reason they used a bomb to blow up the Chico, because they knew that Paul got deep Sicilian relationships and roots, and it's easy to make it look like the Sicilians came to do this, and we don't got to take the heat for it. So when you're going to go around talking, especially a guy with no lineage, cooking pot guys, I call him, Sammy, a guy that just come, these ain't guys that have deep roots. You're going to go around and talk about a guy killing Paul and other families? That would be risky. So you're right.
I think I'll put in that new context, right? They're sitting at that commission meeting. John makes that statement about we're looking to solve, we got an investigation, we'll kill Paul and Tommy. Now, it gets lost because we know the name Paul. You killed the boss and an underboss. Whether it be 1 day or 100 years as underboss. You killed the boss and an underboss. There's one other guy. You also killed another underboss, Frankie. Why isn't John saying, we got 3 mysteries here? Somebody, if John's going to take the position, we don't know who killed Paul and Tommy, right?
Probably the cops did it.
Yeah, but think about this. Why isn't John saying, yeah, you say, Chin says at the end, John should have said, yeah, we got another underboss too, who killed Frankie. We got 3 mysteries in our family that we're investigating. Wow. John no dog. John's got a mouth. John's smart. He's witty. Why wouldn't he throw that back at him? No, I'm going to correct you, Vincent. We got 3, 2 underbosses and our boss. We're investigating this. He didn't care about Frankie at that point? He won't want to mention that? He throws that right back at him. Maybe I know you killed him. Bobby Manna and others get caught on tape talking about killing John and Jeannie. On tape. Bobby's in jail for it right now. I think there's a murder attached to it, I believe. Well, he just got out, didn't he, Bobby Manna? Just got out, compassionate or fresh step back. Well, anyway, this guy went away. There's a tape. It's not me saying. There's a tape of him talking with a made guy out in Jersey, and Bobby Manna was a concierge, plotting to kill John and Jeannie. As a matter of fact, one guy says Jeannie's easy to get, if I could paraphrase what he said. So how do you not know that answer going into that meeting? Or how do you not call another meeting with Chin? Hey, what's this about? What's Gravano's opinion about that? He never talked about it. Did he dog it? Gravano's a dog? He's a dog in other ways. That's another subject. But why didn't Gravano say, yeah, we knew it was the West Side. We would kill all of them. He says, oh, John told me not to. That's bullshit. John was the target. But if they don't get arrested, is John not a target no more? Was there statute of limitations on killing the boss of a family from the commission? No, it's open. So I'm really cautious on everything that guy in Arizona says. Really cautious because it don't make sense. You had a formidable crew at that time where Frankie gets murdered. Everybody was in the streets though. The tape comes out right after that with Banner. Formidable crew, everybody was in the street. John was still in the street. Why didn't John act? He goes there, puts his tail between his legs in the commission meeting? I don't think so. My opinion.
Yeah, there is. See, I wish I had more, and I can look into it and get it. And we did the shows, so I'm sure we talked about the timeline. At least one of those meetings, and you talked about before, John was an illegitimate boss in the eyes of the commission. But for John to say to Chin at one of those meetings, hey, my son just got made. We know that's 88.
Right. That's the contradiction, right? Between Gravano and Gas. That's the contradiction. It was never mentioned. So now he's telling Chin his son got made. So yeah, he's got to tell Chin his son was made. You got to be kidding me. He sees the list first.
All right, so we'll move to that.
There's one other thing. There's one other thing here. It's a Sicilian syndicate. John has come cautious before. So he has to be cautious before it starts a bloodbath. SS, the bloodbath started already. They killed the boss, underboss, and Frank DeChico. What else you waiting for? 100%. No way. It started already. Once Frankie goes, revenge is served cold. Remember when dig revenge, dig 2 graves.
I could ask you 100 more questions because that was really great breakdown, but we'll move to the board and ask some questions from the people so they can get some of the questions answered. Thank you guys for being here. It's over 300 people in the chat. Thank you.
Nice. Really? That's nice.
Yeah, we didn't even. I didn't think we would get many people here at this time in the morning with no notice. But thank you guys. We do appreciate you guys continually supporting the show for so long. We're one of the very few shows that we never shouldn't even. Is this real wood? it's probably made in China. Does China use real wood?
No, it's not fake. I wouldn't even do that. It's probably got toxins coming out of it.
I don't even know what to knock on because wood's not used for nothing no more.
Not even woodpeckers want the wood.
But the show has always continued to be a successful show. Knock on. I don't know.
The door frame is probably a composite, but it has wood in it.
Yeah. So I'll knock on you, my brother.
That's it. So you got it. Now, look, if you want to see, if everybody's who's not on Patreon, we're going to have a Patreon live tomorrow. If we don't get to your questions, we're going to keep this a pretty short one. This is a spontaneous one. Ajay's got major plans today. He's got things to do. We just snuck this in for the YouTube crowd. We owed you a little something. So if you can, if you want, come over to Patreon. If you don't have the money, but don't take advantage of it. If you don't have the money, we'll sponsor you. Email us. Ajay, Mike, we'll take care of that. Myself, and we'll get you started.
There's a few people in here who mentioned about wanting to be on Patreon, but they don't have the money. And guys, I've said this over and over and over again. If you're not on Patreon because you don't have money, then all you have to do is just email the show. MD, no excuses at gmail.com. Email the show. We'll sponsor you, get you signed up for the show. Come over to the show. Any donations that ever come in, we don't ask for no donations, but the ones that people send in anyway, we just use the money to help other people sign up. So if you just email us, if you need help in your email, say, I want to join, but I need help signing up because some people are not very tech savvy. We'll call you. We'll have someone call you, help you sign up. We'll send you links. We'll help you through the process. So if you want to join, email us, MD, no excuses at gmail.com, and I'll drop that into the chat also. So I want to take some questions from the board.
I want to give a shout out. We want to give a shout out to JJ for all the YouTubers out here that are not familiar with JJ Lambone. Jump over to his site. He's got good stuff. He's a funny guy. He puts things, serious stuff in funny ways that you may enjoy. He puts out a lot of shorts. So jump over to JJ Lambone, and he's part of our family, our Patreon AZ family. So we're trying to promote him and help him along. Good. Ajay.
Do people know what Patreon AC family is on here?
Oh, you explain it. Go ahead.
If you're on Patreon, that's what it means. Somebody who's a member of our Patreon.
Yeah. And it's a good place to be. We got everybody on there is great. Cohesive group. There's no acrimony, no insults, none of that stuff. Everybody shares. These people get together in the places they live, go for lunch and dinners and stuff like that. So it's a good place to be. Nice, soft place to be with no bullshit.
Guys, if you want to go somewhere where you're not attacked for your comments, people who are positive, you want to be around just intellectual conversations, people who are balanced-minded, come over to Patreon. It'll be the best $10. We do 8 shows a month. It'll be the best $10 you ever spent. You can avoid all this nonsense that exists on YouTube. There's a reason why so many shows have gone away. So many of the people who, want to just come on here and do something good and just left. YouTube is totally different than Patreon. So come over to Patreon. You won't have to deal with this nonsense.
Hey, Luke, we had a search party out for you. Everybody on, a lot of people, I should say, on Patreon asking where you were. I'm glad you're on here and back in action. So I'll give a post. If you're not on Patreon anymore, I'll tell people you're okay and you're back in action here.
All right. So I'm just take a few questions. And why didn't people like Paul Castellano's leadership style? Also, did Neil have a problem with his leadership? This is sick. I can't even read what that handle is.
I think I get it. Well, look, when Paul first took over after Carl, he was really well liked. It was a new seed, fresh. Paul was a guy that was accessible in the street. The club he opened up on 86th Street, Veterans and Friends, was his club. It wasn't another members club he went to hang out with. He put that flagship club up. And he was there Monday, Thursday, and Sunday at a minimum. Every week. So unless something come up on the schedule, of course. But for the most part, everybody knew he would be there those days. And he sat with his men. Very successful. Guys from most of the people I met in that life, I met in that club as a kid. In 76. On. So he was very well liked at the time. Things changed. By 83, things started to change. Started getting hearing about cases, catching cases, Angelo's drug thing, Roy DeMayo, leading up to Roy DeMayo, the Ippolitos getting murdered, which was a bad thing because they got caught doing it. Nino and Roy. So, and Pete Pachetti was there, and I don't think he knew what was going on, Pete, that these guys were going to get banged out. So there was a lot of bad things happening. Paul changed. He got very bitter, it looked like. He really didn't like street guys too much anymore. He really started to back up now. And I think his demeanor towards street guys, and I gave the example of myself when Tommy Bilotti was sent by Paul to come and visit me in Pastels, a discotheque, to see how I acted. Paul didn't like people now all of a sudden going to clubs and gamblers. He hated gamblers. He didn't like gamblers. And the guys that were cavorting with girls and stuff like that, cheating on their wives, he frowned upon. Imagine him frowning upon it. So all these hypocrisies made everybody have a bad taste in their mouth with this guy. Because not only was he just being hypocritical with the drugs and everything else that was going on, he was killing guys for dealing drugs. We had a guy in our crew, I'll tell this story, probably you two people have never heard this. I wasn't made yet, I was young. And we had a guy, Philly Mealy, in our crew. His father and grandfather, and probably before, go back in time as being members of that life. Paul tells me one day, Zachariah, he says, see Philly's brother, Angelo, a wise guy, he's in the can doing a junk bit. He said, when he comes home, we're killing him. Our crew had to kill him. So Paul's telling me, when this guy comes home, we're killing him for dealing drugs. And I would go to every meeting. We used to go meet once a week with the crew, right? Lilo's crew. And I would look at this guy, jovial guy, nice guy. Philly never said a bad word about anything. He was just, he had that same $8 in his pocket. You want to go for no money, which was comical in itself. I got stories. But he was a nice guy. And I used to sit there and look and say, this guy don't even know his brother comes home. We got to kill him. This is the hypocrisy. Now, Angelo did, probably did 25 years. Angelo's blessing, Paul getting murdered. Otherwise, he's gone. If Paul's still the boss, we kill him. That was an order. That's standing order of a guy who's doing a big bid. Imagine that. That wasn't punishment enough. Yeah. So standing up, doing this bid, yeah, he made an infraction, but we're going to kill him for no hypocrisy. These are the things that hurt Paul. So he changed over time, Paul, and he changed for the wrong reason. It got very, very bad. Then he started to isolate big time. He didn't want to really meet anybody because of his cases, that's understandable too. But there's everything else before that really turned people off to Paul at that point. Remember, you're good as your last payment, right? And everybody know that statement? He had a lot of mistakes in this time period, Paul.
This is a point that I think should be considered, that I think about myself sometimes too. And you kind of followed the same narrative when you were helping Junior run the family. I believe Paul was a visionary of what the mob was going to become. Look at it today and how it's being ran. If you look at guys like Frank Costello, Paul, you told Junior, we got to close the social clubs down. We got no drugs, no murders. And what you just saw was it's getting hot out here and they are on us. And the way of yesterday is not the way of tomorrow. So it seems to me that as guys move further away, move further up, they see more. The vision is wider, more expansive versus the guy who's a little bit lower down. He doesn't see what's going to come. And if you look at really what the mob is alleged to have become, it's a lot of what Costello wanted, or what you wanted, or what Paul wanted. Not this hard knock street crimes, that drug dealing, things that had the ability to crush the whole thing. Now, people always think the mob was against drugs. I don't even think there was really a rule that was against drugs. They wanted to regulate it and control it and have it in the hands of a limited number of people. They didn't want drug dealing done cowboy style. Clearly, the Patsy Conti story with the Mercedes-Benz, he was okay with drug dealing. He didn't want the family, everybody just cowboy style drug dealing. He wanted it to be controlled. And it seems to be, if you look at most families, Carmine Galante, the Bonanos, everything, they wanted it to be controlled and with a certain number of people.
Well, I'm gonna back that up because this is how I view it.
And one more thing to add on for you to consider. When Junior came to you, you guys were running the family. You and Junior were faced with the same decision that Paul was faced with Patsy Conti, and the same decision that Senior and Sammy were faced with Patsy Conti. Sammy said, and you can tell me if you believe it, but he said he went to Patsy and said, we want the same 800 or whatever it was that you were given to Paul, which meant go do your business and turn in. Junior comes to you, says, Michael, Patsy Conti got the 800. He's asking you, what do we do? You look over at Junior and say, hey, I guess we're in the drug business now. Because what do you do when the guy's going to turn in $1 million in cash to you? And he's been the same drug dealer through Carlo, through Paul, through John, and now it's in your lap. What do you do in these situations?
Yeah, what I told him was when it was with Jackie Jr. and Patsy just left them, and I walked into the conversation after Patsy goes. He explains that Patsy wanted to give that money. Junior asked me, what should we do? So he says, what do you think? I says, John, by our rules, we're supposed to kill him. With question mark, almost, And then he looks at me, he points his finger, says, I want you to think about that. And he walked away. And I said to myself, well, I guess we're going in the drug business. To myself, not coming out of here, right? Which I wasn't happy about because I know what that's going to bring. And again, here we go with the hypocrisy. Well, let me back up on what you said because there's a lot of good points in there. But today's times, right? We talk about how it morphed into something more business-like. And that's where it was going. My opinion, Paul and other guys to rise to that level and have the wealth, have everything to lose. The guys in the street like Angelo, which we talked about earlier, were still fighting for survival. They didn't have the means and the ways to say, hey, I'm making $100,000 a month. I'm making $50,000 a month in the business. I could just coast. I don't need all this stuff around me. I don't need to be exposed by guys around me dealing junk and getting caught up in the beef. It's more like, oh, I made it. I'm going to distance myself. Paul made it, and a lot of other guys made it to that point, but there's still guys hungry in the street. Criminals. We're all criminals in the street trying to survive, earn a living, and maybe get to a point of owning a business. A lot of guys can't do it. A lot of guys can't be in that business, not drug business, in any business. They don't have the means, as you can see. Otherwise, everybody would be rich, which is another major misnomer. A lot of guys are fighting for that acorn on the floor, same one. So when you get to that point of saying, I made it, you may not want that fire to hit your ass. So there's a different way of thinking there because that's how you forget. That's how Paul forgot what everybody was about in the street. I made it. I got to distance myself because guys are getting arrested around me or guys are dealing drugs. I can only trust these amount of guys to do that because I know they go back a million years. That's never going to happen. I don't need everybody doing it, to your point. Now, we talk about today. Let's talk about into the 90s. Everybody's off the street. Just about every mass murderer and every family is off the street. Most of these murders are being solved by cooperators. right? Everything's getting put in the past. All the major drug dealing, all the murders are getting solved, and people say, I skated because I got away with it, or let's not go down this road again. Like I told Junior, we have to stop the murders and have to stop the big drug dealing if we want to survive, right? So what does that do? That's self-preservation. But you can't forget the men that are still out in the street earning a living, trying to earn a living. You can't forget the criminal that just came out of the street that don't have what you have. So you can't forget that. It's a slippery slope with a lot of this stuff. But if you say we're not going to kill you for it, it's a little different. Now, to the second point to that, and I'll throw a question at you and everybody on here. Technology of today, the last 20 years, let's say, technology of today, cameras or surveillance, telephones, towers where they could watch your phone, major informants, confidential informants in the street, right? And they have major ones in the street. Everybody knows that's no secret. It's been going on forever. Just it's more prevalent now in the last, I would say, 30 years into the 90s, because a lot of guys maybe could have been in jail for a long time that are still in the street, or guys that could have been pinched are still not out, they're still functioning. Not to pan anybody, but it's just reality. Now, if there was no surveillance, if there wasn't a camera in every corner, you don't think bodies would be dropping? I think every time they thought somebody was really bad, you don't think guys know that this guy may be bad? Years ago, that guy would have went. There would have been nothing to think about. Like we talked about in the movie Casino. Why take a shot? Bang him out. If there wasn't all this surveillance, the way it is, and this confidential informants, the guys were worried about maybe getting a death penalty, which they're not going to give the death penalty in New York. They don't do that. But spending the rest of your life in jail, you don't think it would be happening? I think there'd be bodies in the street. I think there would have been bodies in the street the last 25 years. You think guys that are cooperated like me could walk around Penshurst? They don't even get a beating because they know somebody's going to give them up. That's a whole other topic. But do you think this would be going on with guys behaving the way they are? Wise guys ratting out wise guys, or wise guys fighting at funeral homes? You don't think bodies would be dropping? The only thing that's preventing that from happening is not because there's not enough tough guys out there. And I'm not saying everybody's a murderer out there. It wasn't the case going back, and it's not the case today. But there are capable guys that can make the decision to bang somebody out. They're just not doing it because they know they're going to get caught. You're going to get caught. There's no way around it. So I think the thing about the nonviolence and the major drug dealing, I think it's about law enforcement's edge on everybody, that they hold that over their heads, that they're smart enough, the people there now say, let's do construction. Let's open up a mortgage company. Let's fuck around with the stock market and everything. I can name a lot of other things that you can make a lot of money through your network in this life. Has it lost its teeth that way without the murders? Absolutely. It's a good thing for them. Maybe they don't realize that, but it's a good thing if they want to survive and make a lot of money. Because what's it about? Is it about killing everybody? Is it about killing everybody? Killing people were a matter of maintaining control out of fear. That's what controls human beings and animals, is fear. When you tell your kid, go to your room, I'm taking your Xbox away or whatever the hell they play today, they behave themselves because they want to play that. So it's a fear of losing something. And yet in that life, before it was a fear of losing your life, you took a shot. So I really feel technology has saved a lot of lives, because I think there would be bodies in the street.
Isn't it crazy how before, though, when you really, that's a good point, because when you think about it, it's like guys used to go out and commit a murder and not even really worry about getting caught. They just had them plan it, like just make sure it was well planned, well organized, call a guy in the room. Hey, what, you want cream in your coffee? Pop, you come and shoot you in the back of the head. Like when you think Sammy can get away with 19 murders, no, never get caught until he has to confess to him, of course. All the people Roy DeMeo killed, and you just still have Christmas morning. You don't have to worry about ever getting caught. Maybe what they should do was just get rid of the murders and bring back the beating. It's a simple assault charge. You do 5 months, 6 months, break a guy's legs for walking down Bensonhurst, like you said. Maybe that's enough. A guy don't want to be in a wheelchair. Why can't they bring back the beating? I mean, because Michael, a gangster can't really be that scared of prison. He has to understand he's going to go to jail. He has to be able to do 6 months for a beating. Can we bring back the beating and the shelf? So you get the shelf or the beating, but not the murder.
There's 3 shelves now. There's degrees in shelves. I'll give you, I don't know how it's popped in my head, but I'll give you something about technology, right? After John was off the street and I got 18th Avenue, Jack and myself, right? A guy tells my friend Tommy, he was going through you get all those other channels that are not 2, 3, 13, when it was like in the 50s. Years ago, people don't know it now. There was channels in the 50s and the 60s that if you go through there, you catch an Italian station or a Spanish station, right? So there was a guy that was in his house on 18th Avenue and was going through, and he caught a closed circuit TV on a channel, obscure channel, one that wasn't a channel. It was just a closed circuit TV. It was the FBI had a camera on a club. The guy caught it. Told my friend Tommy, "There's a camera across the street from the club." He caught it on the what do you call it? The channel. So that was that. Imagine what they have now. They got little cameras all over the place besides all the street cameras. Anyway, not just for Italians, all over this country. You can't. You guys, where I am, if you got a speeding ticket, you're getting a ticket. It's on the screens in all the police stations. They got a main control. You're going to get caught with anything you do. People get caught all the time. You're not getting away with anything. So they're smart enough to know, hey, this was this infraction. We'll put them on a shelf. The shelf 1, shelf 2, shelf 3. That's their murder today, which is a good thing in a way. Is it indicative of what the mob was? No. That's why there's nothing to talk about anymore. There's really no breaking news of saying this guy was assassinated on the 50-something street in Manhattan.
Breaking news. 5 guys playing cards in the back of a restaurant.
Right. Major infraction. They use sweet and low in the espresso. Major infraction. That's a 2nd-degree felony.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Now, the other good point that you suggested to Junior that would really be helpful, I think, is let's reduce the roles by 10%. Probably now you might want to say 20%, but reduce the membership. Don't remake guys who fall off. Don't remake them. Just get it down to a tight, solid group of people that think alike, and get rid of, don't just fill a seat because it's empty, right? Because you're filling the seat with, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but this is what Carlo used to worry about. But Carlo worried about the Americanized gangsters. He worried about the Americanization of the Sicilian Cosa Nostra, what it was originally intended to be. So why fill the seats with guys who grew up on Goodfellas and now they just aspired to be Tommy? Like, why fill the guys with people who just grew up on the movies and they want the glamour of the movie? Just reduce it down and make it tight. Like the guys in New Orleans when they sat with John and said, we only got 6 guys. I think they had a boss, an underboss, a captain, and 3 soldiers. Like, and they said, we're not filling no more seats. We're keeping it tight. And they were accepting that the family was going to dissolve.
Right.
I think that happened with, I don't know if it's true, but I think in Billy D'Elia's book, it was planned that they were going to let the family dissolve because they didn't have the. But what do? Do you just put anybody in and just everyone who's there who wants to just live their life out and not go to jail? Do you just fill it so you all end up in jail anyway, or do you let it just go out? I mean, so the only option in New York, there's more going on, but I think you made a good point when you said just when you advised Junior, like, let's just bring the numbers down.
I agree. And, they would have to go to the other families. You could do whatever you want in your family. You don't have to straighten them. There's no rule you have to straighten them. You could do that. But the goal would have been this presented to the other groups and see if they'll go along with it, because the talent pool, like you said, wasn't enough as what it was in the past where guys were real hungry. What were the best fighters years ago? The guys that were starving, their bellies were empty. They had fire in their stomach because they were fighting to make a payday. Later on, Well, you could go to college to get a degree. Why would you want to get in the ring? But years ago, you were going there to earn a living. But you had that fire in your belly, i.e. Mike Tyson, out of nowhere, right? And a lot of other fighters. Today, it's not the same. It's not. It's like baseball players. Now there's a lot of Italians that they're starting to play baseball, but the Jews and the Italians went to school. Their parents pushed them more towards schooling. Forget about baseball. Forget about football. Forget about this. Go to school. But the other people were hungry. Look, I'll give you an example. Dominican Republic. They were playing with milk cartons. Every day was playing baseball. They hit their way off that island. So it has nothing to do with fire in your stomach. And to equate it back to the mob, is somebody really got the fire in their belly for that life? Do they really understand that life? So what they're doing today is a good thing for society and even for themselves. They can earn a living through networking. It's just a different stage of what the life is. It's just not what the movies are going to be made about. What are they going to make? Like you said something before. It sounded funny, but you know what? It's the truth what you said about sitting in the back of a club playing cards and they arrest 5 guys for playing cards. It's lunacy. I wouldn't spend 5 cents on guys gambling. Why would you want to investigate guys gambling, playing cards, or take a book on sports? It's ridiculous.
You know what's interesting? They only put this on New York because they have done so much killing. Like Chicago, Detroit, which a lot of people believe they are making a lot of money. These are business guys. They're strong guys. They have networks. They are working together with the same principles that go back 100 years. They keep it tight, keep it close. They're not making a whole bunch of people. No one says, hey, why ain't they killing in Detroit no more? Hey, why ain't they killing in Chicago no more? Because it doesn't even come up in conversation about them because it's accepted what they're doing. But that's to your point. What you're saying is that's where they're going in New York now. They're just trying to do more networking, business, legitimate things. It's just not easily accepted in the Gambino family because this is the family that like to have blood in the street. This is the, so let's ask another question here and then we're gonna a guy here a members only guy who wanted a question. I think I found it right here. He says, why did Preston and Bobby Borriello have a beef? I heard Preston murdered Bobby's childhood friend a few years before he died.
Well, I don't know about that murder, members only. I don't know. What was the guy's Bobby's childhood friend? But Preston was a tough guy. He was, first of all, tough guy, but he was off. He was off up there. They were extremely close growing up, Bobby and Preston. Very close. I think they were Gumbadas. I could be mistaken, but I don't think so. I think they were Gumbadas. They just had a rivalry with each other for some reason later on in life. But they were very close. It was Gallup crew guys. And Preston had family. Those people had a name downtown Brooklyn. So, but Preston was off. And that's why his brother-in-law winds up killing him. What's his name? Andy Wilson. I'll just leave it. I won't give you his last name. Major bookmaker. Great guy. Everybody loved this guy. This is the West Side. They straightened him out. Early on, he didn't want to get straightened out. But Andy was a great guy. And I believe it was his brother-in-law. And, Andy had to kill him. Because Preston would have hurt Andy. And he knew who Andy was, a wise guy, and he was putting his hands on him. So I think they never should have sent him to prison, Andy, for killing the Preston. I think it should have been a self-defense case, in my opinion. But Preston was a tough guy. And again, he was off.
Georgia Anastasia said all the smart Italians go to college. The mafia can only get the shallow end of the pool. You know what? That's a good point. It's to the Italians. In the late 1800s, there was the John Gotti of that time was a guy named Monk Eastman. He was a top Jewish gangster in the country. This guy, there was a big Jewish mob. The Jews at a time in this country were the Italians. The Italians were replaced. And then you had Irish, and when Italians came over, they became crime groups come out of desperation. They come out of, if you study the time period in Sicily when there was major over here in Sicily, there was famine, there was labor-intensive jobs, there was poor medical, there was really bad systems for education. People fled and came here because there was great need, because the Emancipation Proclamation passed. You couldn't get free slave labor no more, so they were bringing over cheap labor. When the Sicilians and the Italians came over, it was a cheap labor, a low-skilled labor need in America with their sugarcane plantations and their citrus plantations or things over in the United States. That's what brought a lot of people over here. Mulberry Street was the biggest slum in New York. It used to be called Mulberry Bend at the time. It was a complete slum. It was the poorest people in the country. The fact that and the country was very unwelcoming towards immigrants.
Right.
Italians were mislabeled by the press and the media as being gangsters, criminal, can't trust them. And they didn't have the options. They were the lowest paid people on the dock out of everybody. There were signs hanging up saying no Italians should apply. It was so they, out of desperation, formed this group, and it started to take root over here out of desperation. When you rise out of desperation, more options are available to you. So when you look at the fact that Italians have more choices now, it's proof of the Italian experiment. It's to their credit. It should be celebrated that the mafia is not what it used to be. It should be. That's a celebration. Right. It's not something that people should say, well, the mob's real weak. Italians have options that they didn't have in the late 1800s, mid 1800s in this country. So that's a little long ramble, but that's a quick historical.
But you're right. And a little synopsis of that. If anybody's really interested in the migration, again, a lot of groups that immigrated here, especially listeners use New York as the base, right? Everybody came in here and went through some kind of abuse, no matter what you were, even the Irish, everybody from the Dutch and the English, everybody went through some kind of form of abuse. It's just how impoverished you are. They create things that people normally wouldn't do. But if you really want to get a little history on this, go to the migration of Sicilians, where they came into first. It was New Orleans. When they went there, they were ranked less than Negroes. And we know about slavery and we know about all that stuff. The Sicilians were picking cotton with blacks. That's fact. What they did do, what they imported was mafia into New Orleans, because when they got here, they wanted to control a lot of the docks. They brought the citrus trade. They did a lot of things and quickly started to control things in New Orleans. And that's where the problem happened with them, when they hung those 12 Sicilians and everything else that went on there. And then they branched out all over the country. The Sicilians and then the Italians migrated into New York, Philadelphia, Boston, even Canada, which is lost. A lot of people went to Canada. That's how the mob starts up there, is through migration in Canada. So if you're really interested, it's really spectacular to go see the correlation between the struggles of every group, especially Italians and blacks in New Orleans. It's a great art. It's a great story.
This is a real article from the Evening Gazette, October 12th, 1895. Right there at the top of this newspaper clipping, Italians not wanted. And they break. So, a lot of people don't really know the history of what formed it to become what they, again, it was formed out of desperation, like all crime groups. Right. Whenever wealth is high, crime is low. Whenever crime is high, wealth is low. It's just always, anytime, even in this country today, when we're in a recession, crime's real high. When there's a lot of money and economy's booming, crime rates go down. That's just the nature of, it's like Frank Costello said, tough times make the monkeys eat red peppers. That's just, so that's where the red pepper theory in my book comes from. Tough times make the monkeys. They asked him, why were you Mr. Costello? Why were you bootlegging? And he said, hey, tough times make monkeys eat red pepper. Guys, this was a great show. We'll be live.
One more thing I want to add before we get it. I'm sorry, Ajay. The fact is, when a government, we could even go until today's times, right? When a government puts out notices like that, and that wasn't one, there was many, against different people, you create an anti-government sentiment. When you oppress or abuse a certain population, do they have a choice? What do I always say? I told the judge several times, we are our own government. We don't acknowledge you. What? Yeah, we're our own government. We have to live within these rules, but we govern ourselves because in the beginning, they didn't accept us into their society. They wouldn't let us assimilate, really. It was tough to assimilate. I'm not even talking about the wise guys and all that other nonsense that came from across the Atlantic. But we didn't have articles like that, and the government telling you you're no good. What do? You galvanize. They came from a country. Sicily was a country. It wasn't Italy. Sicily was never Italy. They had to unify at one point. But Sicily was wrecked by different countries, the most conquered place, I think, in history, by different peoples, all kinds of peoples. That's why we all look different coming out of Sicily.
You know, historically, the most blended, and some people argue over if Sicilian is a language or a dialect, but I accept it as a language. But it has the most other words from other languages because it had so many, the French, the Spanish, so many different people, the Arabs, all these people came over to try to conquer that land. So they have so many words, like languages within the language in the Sicilian language, because that land was occupied by so many people. And there's people at the time, maybe back a little bit, maybe not so much now, but people from like northern Italy could not communicate with people in southern Italy. They didn't understand what they were saying, and the northern side of the.
Well, for the people who don't know, the southern part of Sicily, Agrigento area, there's a saint, Saint Calogero, Saint Charlie. He's black. He's out of Africa. Did you know that?
No, but I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's true.
I like my people having some
Sicilian blood. So, but these are the things where they said my grandfather's town, Bizzacchino, right? That was formed from an Arab name of that town. They just Sicilianized it, let's say, over time. But from what I understand, that was named because of the water or something like that. Bizzacchino, like aqua, water. So it was an Arab name that the Arabs named that town. And you're right. It's great points. It's great history. Maybe we're boring somebody with this. Guys, RJ, close it out. You come to Patreon and hear more of this.
You guys want to hear a really funny story? This is funny. This is years ago. Years ago, I went to a place, right, that was occupied by some guys. Italian guys.
Mostly Sicilian guys.
Well, I didn't know this. So I go in and I'm looking around and I'm, whatever. And I leave. I said, Michael, let's just say the place is called XY Cafe. I don't know, XY restaurant. I said, Michael, why would a Puerto Rican be working at XY restaurant? He breaks out laughing hysterically. He says, he's Sicilian. That's why they used to call him black people, because they're dark. He said, we used to make fun of people like that. I seen a guy so dark. I didn't see him as he was a black guy, but I thought he's for sure at least Hispanic, Puerto Rican, maybe mixed black and Spanish. I didn't know. And you said, that's how Sicilians look. I did not know that. Yeah. When you're right in front of him, I did not see an Italian at all. I thought for sure he was black or Spanish or mixed.
Well, look, a quick example. You got Paul Castellano and you got Joe Butch, right? Two very tall guys. And then you get a lot of these short Italians, like Sicilians, like my grandfather, and most of the people at that time, 5'2", 5'3". If you were 5'6", 5'7", they used to call you Longo, like Paul. He's 5'8", nah, Longo. These guy's a big guy, right? Michael, you know.
All right, guys, this was a great show. Thank you, guys. Michael, you were on it today. You were sharp. That's some of your best straight out of Brooklyn.
Yeah, but you know what was in there? A lot of espresso.
All right. Great show, great discussion. You gave me a lot to think about regarding these commission meetings and all that stuff. Wow, that puts some stuff in perspective. So thank you, guys. We'll be live on YouTube tomorrow at 2:00, unless we change. I'm sorry, Patreon tomorrow at 2:00. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Peace and love. Michael, close it out.
Yes. God bless. Thank you for being here. We had a lot of fun. RJ, appreciate you. Everybody in here, the commentaries, great. I've seen a lot of names I haven't seen in a long time, and some I'd never seen before. So I appreciate you all, everybody being here. Again, if you need help, just don't take advantage of it, because we do help a lot of people. If you need help getting on there, don't be embarrassed. Email us. We'll sponsor you.
I just dropped the link in the chat for anyone that would like to join Patreon. Email the show, MD, like Michael DiLeonardo, MD, no excuses, @gmail.com. Just send an email. We're always in the email. We'll help you sign up. We'll help you get on. If you need technical help, send an email. We'll help you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the continued support. The show always does well. We always have good lives. You guys are always supportive. So thank you. Take care.
Bye.